Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 547 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Cantaresco, and here is the smooth criminal herself, Courtney Cannon. I'm teasing her. This is Courtney. I met her through Go Indie Now. She does a lot of work with Joe Content. She's a writer. I would almost say like writing journal, like almost like a journalist, kind of like with your reviews and stuff like that. You kind of do almost like a reporting kind of gig. So is reporter accurate?
I guess, maybe blogger would be better. I don't know.
Okay,
I do a lot of
okay. Like writer, blogger, rock star. This is Courtney Cannon, and this is her mom show. So Courtney, how you doing?
I am doing good. My children are in there being good and behaving, and I have time to myself to be on here with you. So it's like a great day.
It's the children behaving. It's like they're not up to no good, or is it like the I solemnly swear I will be up to no good while
Yes, they have to take that swear like right before I'm like, you need to make sure you're being good, be good for daddy. Don't do anything crazy. Don't hurt each other. I've got to have like an hour. Just be good.
Just be good. I need my time.
Yes.
It's gotta be. Well, it's an interesting thing because I think a time like this would actually there's a temptation to kids will grow up fast in situations like this because they become aware that I think their parents cannot handle all the responsibilities that they normally would, and somehow it's not like, oh, this is a bad thing. It's like, no, I'll help. Like I'll come in, I'll help, I'll do my thing in this time. Like I imagine because you do a bunch of things and you need your own space and time. Almost reestablishing those boundaries has to be an interesting challenge in a situation like this.
I try to set those boundaries, but mostly it's just me kind of running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Because they're doing homeschool, so I'm homeschooling, doing their homeschool stuff during the pandemic. And so I'm meeting with teachers and doing all that stuff. Then I'm doing all the work that I do with Fiction Atlas. And then I'm trying to squeeze in writing time and do videos for Joe. And so sometimes I'm like up in the middle of the night, like while they're asleep trying to do things. So it's kind of just like a big juggling act.
So you are really like a criminal operating at night. It's like I like you.
Yeah.
You got a stay-at-home mom a day, doing mom stuff a day, being a superhero or vigilante at night, doing all the other things he does for everybody else. So
yeah.
That's cool. I mean, you have to find the time somehow. Like I'm of the belief that you got what you want to do. You have your priorities. You can't get everything done you want to do, not necessarily, but
yeah, the important things you just have to kind of make time for them. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever those priorities are for each and every person, right? So I mean, and everybody is a little different. So that all said, okay, so I met you through Go Indie Now. So I don't know you very well. So what I want to ask is, for you, writing-wise, when did you want to be a writer? Why did you want to be a writer? And what's your plan for world domination as a writer? Like, where are you going?
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can reveal all of those plans, but I've wanted to be a writer probably since I was about 5 or 6. I've always just really been into reading. As soon as I could read, I was reading everything. I read all the books in my elementary library. I was fascinated by learning new things, and I especially liked books about animals and books like really adventurous fiction books. And so eventually I just started, reading books, and there'd be some that I wouldn't like the ending to. And so I would just rewrite the ending. And so I was like, well, this didn't happen, and I really wanted it to happen. I really thought it was going to go there. So I'm going to write this story, and it's going to happen this way. And some of my first stories are like horrible because, I was little, and they were just it was like melodrama. It was like soap opera stuff. Like somebody got shot and this other person had to protect them, or it's just like crazy stuff. But
well, I mean, there's something like straightforward about that though when you're young, right? It's like, oh, so this guy, he like met at somebody and got shot. Like there's a whole story there. Yeah, but I don't want to do that. That's not the story I'm telling here. This is just important to note so you know that not expect him anymore. And then this guy right here, he discovers a frog, gives it a kiss. It's a princess. They all live happily ever after. You just like,
yeah.
But I mean, because it's almost like a case when you're a kid, you have like too many ideas. It's like I got all these cool ideas. I gotta tell it. You haven't learned as an adult, but they're all good ideas. So why don't you take
Yeah.
one and tell a story about it? And they're like, it doesn't occur to me. That doesn't usually occur until you're much older and wiser and stuff like that. You want to hear my
Yeah.
worst story? You want to hear mine? Like what
Do
story
I?
where I 8 Do you want to hear my worst story, my bad story at 8
Yeah.
years old? So I had this really great idea of a dolphin saving the world. Right? Cool idea.
Uh-huh.
Really cool. Right? Really cool.
Yeah.
But here's the bad part. So I had this. So you know how dolphins talk in clicks and whistles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had this wonderful idea that my dialogue would completely be clicks and whistles.
Oh my Lord.
It's like good idea in theory, right? It's a good idea
Yeah.
in theory.
The dolphins could read it and maybe understand.
Yeah, it's awkward when you go reach to the front of the class and you're like, I screwed up. I really screwed this up. So if I find that story, Creative Inc. in Vancouver has this thing where they tell the bad first drafts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Kung Fu translations of all this stuff, like epic style. I get dolphin whistles recorded, and then invite the audience to do Kung Fu style translations. Like,
oh my gosh.
It would be awesome, right? It would be totally awesome because the dialogue can be whatever you want it to be, right? I might even do that like as a panel, like just invite people to come in. It's like, well, listen, the writer screwed up. He has no idea what the dialogue is. It's up to you guys to put the dialogue in, and we'll just go with the story wherever it goes from there. I think that would be a hilarious, like
that could be fun.
Yeah. And make sure the 6-year-olds set the dialogue first, because that it'll just go wherever because it'll be like it'll be like this, right? It's like, so once upon a time, it's like this big elaborate story, and then he dies. Wow. Okay, pivot. Anyways, so yeah.
And then he comes back to life somehow.
I mean, that's the expert. So your turn.
That sounds a lot like have you ever played story cards before?
No.
One of my friends is actually my husband's best friend, and we used to get together before we had kids and do like a game night, and like we used to play Magic and a few things, but then he got these story cards, and you have to draw a few different cards for like setting and like characters and things, and you end up writing a story all together. Like when it comes to your turn, you draw a card and you have to go with something that's on the card. It's kind of like an improv, and we made up some really cool and hilarious stories with it. It was fun.
No, so my favorite was, it's called Rogues and Riches or something like that. It's a you draw 4 cards from the deck, and you're trying to break into like this place, and you gotta use like the tools and the situation, and and it's 3 people. You have to argue why this works, and the person that sets the trap has to argue why it wouldn't, and then someone has to judge which is the best story, which is like, okay, this is good. Pat Flowing sold me that game. It was like, this game is crack. I love this game, right? But it's like, why? I kept getting the same like cards. I was in like this basement with a lawnmower and like 3 blank cards. I'm like, and you need to steal something that you can't hardly lift. I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do? Right? It's like, what the hell am I
gonna be really creative?
Oh, I tried. One time it was so bad, my opponent said, do I really have to give a counter argument to this? Like any kind of card to this? Because I had nothing. I was looking at that, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I gotta come up with something that I got like my mind was like giving me like this giant no. Because it's like, you can't use a lawnmower like that. I'm like, oh, well, you're right, you can't use that. There's physics and rules, and yeah. Dang it! Right, but that was it. No, I mean, those games are always fun. I'm a Magic guy still. I still kind of play Magic. I play in an arena, so I don't know if you got time for that anymore. But if you, it's fun. Like
it's been years since I played, so I'd probably have to like be retaught how to play. But maybe that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun. So you were a gamer, and
yes,
are you still a gamer? Because
I do some things on like PS5, PS4, or whatever, but not anything that takes too much time because I don't really have much time. I would love to be able to game more. I like Fallout 4. Me and my husband play Let's Cook together and like Overcooked and those like cooperative games and anything Lord of the Rings because I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So like Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor and things like that I like to play. And I started playing Outer Worlds the other day and I liked it pretty good.
That's cool. That's cool. No, I'm still single, so I can still kind of game at my leisure at this point in time. But I mean,
Yeah.
even so, as adults we get older, you get into that point where it's like, I need something quick and elegant because I don't have time
Yeah.
for anything like long or elaborate or anything like that. And I need that event released, but I only got like 15 minutes, so
Yeah.
let's make this good.
Me and my kids have been playing Among Us a lot, and I like that because it's really quick. You know,
Yeah.
you can play a couple rounds, and they're having fun, and I'm having fun, and then I can get back to work if I need to, or do whatever else needs to be done. So,
Yeah. So, how long have you been riding?
how long have I been writing? Professionally, I've only been writing for about 6.5 years or so.
Okay.
Mostly I've just been writing short stories, but I also help, like I've got that publishing company, Fiction Atlas Press, and so we do 2 anthologies a year. And so I'm always writing stories for that. And then I'm working on a longer series of novels, and I've got a fairy tale retelling coming out in December.
Nice.
And so,
See,
uh, you know,
you're rolling. You're starting to roll. So
yeah,
you fell into the situation like we all kind of did when we started. It's like I just want to write stories, and that's all I really want to do, and it'll all magically work out. Next thing you know, I can do everything. I publish, I get copyrights, I hire people, I fire people. What is this
I
magic?
I don't do that though. Like that's the only thing. Like I'm such a control freak that I don't have a PA. I don't have anybody that works for me besides my sister, who she's my little sister, so I can just tell her what to do, and she's used to it. you know, so so I have trust issues. I can't do it. I'm a Virgo and I'm an INFJ, and I'm just really really like I like to have like spreadsheets, and I like to be in control of everything. And then I also can't say no. So like when a client's like, well, can you squeeze me in to do this or can you do that? And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. So I'm up like at 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to get something done. That's it's just that's
Literally
just the way
like
I
the
am.
worst combo ever. Like I mean, like no, it really is. No, I get it. You're a very capable person, and because you're a very capable person, there is this tendency when you're really good at what you do and you're really organized. You sound like you're someone that generally has a plan, as generally has their shit together for the most part. All right, and can do just about anything, which is probably like which is honestly a really really good thing, you know.
Yeah.
But but the reality is I've learned this the hard way, right? And I always thought this was like one of the best lessons to learn was, um, um, you don't become. You can only go so far on your own. Like you can do a
Yeah.
lot on your own. Don't get me wrong. Like there's a lot you can accomplish on your own, but you got to find people to work with and work for, and you everybody like it or not, we need people. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
one. Like, it's a hard, like truth to life. I've learned is that people, um, you know, just hold on a second here. I'm just saying a quick thing. People have this tendency. You gotta find people to work with and work for. Yeah. Yeah. Well, first off, Katie says you're like the smartest person in book marketing. I just want to say that you're one of the smartest book marketers
Thank
ever.
you.
Yeah. Second, what I want to say is like I learned this like hard way. That there's only so far you can go on your own. If you have certain aspirations to get bigger and better, you have to at some point. Okay, I need to train somebody, and try not to
Yeah.
get so frustrated with them that I'm gonna throw them out when they screw up because they're going to screw up. For the first like
Yeah.
6 months, you're gonna be like, I feel like I've taken a big giant step backwards, but it will buy you time after that 6 months,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
because that's because inevitably, like for you, someone like you, time's your enemy because you only have
Hmm.
24 hours in a day, and you have so much to do. And eventually, I'm going to ask this with a with like a generous. How old are you? Please don't beat me for that.
It doesn't matter. I am 34.
You're 34. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You're coming to the point where you're like, my energy's not quite what it was when
Yeah.
I was in my 20s. You're coming to that point. Now you can still do a lot of things. You can still do a lot of incredible things,
Hmm.
um, but you are, how to put this? You feel it. You start to feel it more. And as you get older,
Yeah.
it's gonna hit you more and more and more. So now you can do it. Like you can tough and grin and bear it and take the world on. And I think you're the kind of person that probably would at least try that for a while. But
Hmm.
at some point, especially if this baby matters, like this is your baby and you want to see it get bigger and better,
Hmm.
you're gonna have to let people in. At some
I
point,
So at some point, I do try, like I said, I let my sister in, and my husband and me are actually starting a business together too soon. So I'm kind of like, I have to really trust them, I guess, to go through it. And I know eventually I'll be able to trust other people. I do have some people in the professional industry that I trust with things like editing and stuff like that. And people that I know, will have my back. But I'm not ready to relinquish complete control over anything. Um, but me and my husband are starting a swag business soon because we just got a Cricut and we've got a heat press and a few things. So we're going to start making author swag, and I've got a iPad so I can start using Procreate. And I've been kind of trying to work on that and make some things. I made a Scarlet Witch decal for the back of my car. I haven't put it on yet, but we've got it cut out, and I was waiting for a day when it's actually sunny. I'll probably do it today to
Mhm.
put it on. So we're experimenting with like making stuff and fandoms and making stuff for authors, and so it's kind of cool to let him in on some of the stuff that I do because he doesn't work right now. He had a contracting business, and then when the pandemic hit, it was kind of like, well, you can't be visiting everybody's house, in the middle of a pandemic. So me and him have been trying to come up with a business plan and stuff. So that's
No,
kind of
that's
cool.
fair. No, that's fair. Also, it's about how big you want to become too. In all fairness, we'll mention this very, very, very like with the pinky up. How much?
Mm.
What's your goal with your publishing house? Is it just to high feature you? Do you want to feature other authors eventually? Right.
Um, I think with the publishing house, I'm probably just going to stick with anthologies because I've been doing those successfully for like 4 or 5 years now, since 2016. And we've done two anthologies a year. We do one that's for profit for authors and one that's a charity. So we always do a charity every year. And that enriches my life kind of. That's like I feel good because I get to connect with those authors, but I don't feel overwhelmed, and I don't want to I trust myself to help market authors, but I feel like I don't want to take on that much responsibility of an author's complete career and,
Yeah. No,
trying to
I get
publish
that.
them.
No,
Yeah. So,
I get that one totally. Partly because you have your own goals, right? Like you have your own
yeah.
aspirations, and it's not. I experimented with being a publicist. I could be
Hmm.
okay with that. I know how to get like. I'm very good at getting people to talk to me. That is one of my skills.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, authors need to know who to talk to, and I can help people with that. But
Yeah.
I'm more mostly it's like I probably would be like I would get to the point where it's like my heart's just not in building people. I like building people up, and I don't
Hmm.
mind helping people point in a direction. But I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to hold your hand and take you there. I'm gonna
Yeah.
let you figure that out. And I feel that that's about the same thing with you.
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of hand holding and stuff with authors, especially baby authors when they're first starting out. But that my end goal is to educate them and let them eventually, kind of like wean them off and let them start making their own decisions and start making, informed choices to better their career. And, I help them do that and help them, figure out how to do it. But I don't want it to be a long-term, like not relationship, because of course I want to be like friends with them and everything after that. But I don't want them to have to rely on me for the rest of their career. I want them to be able to kind of bloom and be able to figure this stuff out for themselves.
So may I offer the suggestion? You do want a relationship, but you want it to be a relationship amongst equals, not I'm the one in charge. Follow me, because you look at that, it's like that's not healthy. Like it's just not healthy, right? Like help guide me to these places. Like I can, right? It's like no.
I've actually cut off some people because that not like I don't want to say like cut off, but there are some people that no matter how much I taught them, they wouldn't learn it, and it wasn't that they couldn't learn it. It was that they didn't have the drive to, and they just wanted me to do things for them forever. Like somebody couldn't even like I showed them like a million times how to make their own like a Genius link or a books to read link. And they just started telling me, if you'll just do it, I'll just pay you to do it because I'm too lazy. They basically said I'm too lazy to do this. And I was wow.
Well, but I mean, let's be fair. Like freelance, we're going to just touch into freelancing a little bit. Freelancing is a service industry, right?
Yes, it is.
As much as it is a writing industry, it's also a service. Like I can do podcasts for people. I can come up with a show for people. I can do audio. I can do voicing for people. I'm willing to do that for money, right?
Yeah.
I don't come cheap because I don't want. I want it to be worth my time, but I do offer those services, right? It's about what services you want to offer. Like I've seen this with people. It's like the service industry functions on the fact that you have taken the effort to learn something somebody else doesn't really want to. I mean, it's not a bad way to make a living, but it's just not your thing.
This kind of feels like a humble brag or something, but I've got so many clients. I don't advertise. I don't need to advertise because I've got word of mouth. So I can go without that person, I can do without their business and be fine. And that's why I kind of try to be a little more choosy about who I work with. And because at first, when you first start out and you're broke and you need money and you first start out in the industry, you're just like, yes, give me, whatever. And the quality of clients might not be that great. They might not, know what they're doing. They might not want to take your suggestions. And then after a time, after you start raising your raise and after you start, getting more comfortable in it, after a while, you can take on more be choosier with your clients and pick on people that you want to actually work with.
Well, I actually would argue even in the beginning, like although you do need to establish a bit of a reputation for sure, right?
Yeah.
For me, I want to do content writing, so I've been published in places like Writers Weekly and Henry Herald, and I'm just slowly building up my clientele base that way.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's what I want to do. Now, I obviously do podcast stuff as well, but I mean, like the way I look at it is, if you want me to do podcast stuff for you, you're going to pay me to do podcast stuff for you because I'm plenty busy on my own. Like I'm just doing my thing, right? Now, like I said, right this particular moment, right? I have to shift gears back to a day job short term because I have to reinvest in myself in some things. But I'm choosy now. Like all of which is a fancy way of saying is I'm already choosy because I've also learned this too. Like I do this because I love doing this, right? The last thing I want to do is resent doing it with someone that does not listen to you, does not pay you enough to go through to respect you. Funny thing about I noticed something about how this world works. The more you raise your rates, the more people respect you. Some people are like, well, I won't work with you. That's fine. I don't want to work with you for but I just don't at that point either, because this is what's going to cost me for time, energy, headache, blah, 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 blah. This is what I know. I'll do it. I'll live with it and I'll be happy with it. Anything below that, I'll resent it. I might as well go back to work at that point, because it's like, why would I needlessly suffer, right? I mean, I might as well just look and do something else, because it's just that's what I learned very, very quickly in this is saying no is actually a necessity as a freelancer. If you don't say no, you're always going to be caught. If it's like me, I'd be caught in the content mills for like the rest of my life, and it's like I don't
Yeah.
want to do that, right? Yeah,
And
right.
it kind of like sours you for the thing that you love. Like you don't want it to turn you against it. That's something that you love, and you don't want to feel like, oh
Mhm.
God, I've got to work today. I mean, of course, almost every day when you have to work and you don't want to, you're going to be a little bit grumpy, but you're not going to feel like you're trapped, and you're not going to feel like
Yeah.
this is the only thing you can do, and
Well,
it
you
does.
want.
It's not going to suck the joy out of it.
Well, yeah, that's it. Like you have to look at the fact that, and I say this like everything. Like the reason why a lot of day jobs suck is they don't pay enough money. When you get right down to
Hmm.
it, the only what you're going with when you do a day job is simply the fact that you get the security of a regular paycheck. That's what
Hmm.
you're sacrificing some of what that's worth for that regular paycheck. Now, flip side. Now, this is the flip side of this. Okay, if you're doing a regular day job and they're trying to suck all your time and effort and energy, you need to walk away from that day job too. Because frankly,
Hmm.
right, like what's a steady paycheck worth to you, right? And
Yeah.
that's a legitimate question that people have to ask themselves. But freelancing is the same thing. Like you can get to a point of a steady paycheck. It can happen. I've been published quite a few times. I've been paid for it. It's definitely possible to make a living, make a not at least get paid for your work on a regular basis. You can do
Yeah.
that, right? Um, but the truth of the matter is, right, you have to be willing to put your foot down on things where it's like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do this. And it's a hard word to say. Like let's say I said earlier, like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think you slightly fed me because I get the impression with you, you're
Hmm.
open to anything. But
Hmm.
you have a sense if it's going to go south, and you probably just cut the cord when you know that feeling.
Yeah, especially from like a marketing standpoint, I've studied
Yeah,
the trends. I know I know what's going to sell, and if somebody's not going to listen to, like I'm like, well, this cover needs some work, or we need to adjust the typography here, or if you ad stacked this day, then I think we could see a boost in your sales ranking. And they're like, well, I just don't want to do that, and not, but and it's a difference between, oh, I just can't afford to do that, and I just don't want to do it because I think you're wrong, or I think they're just fine, or something like that. So, because some people, if they're going to pay you for your expertise, they need to actually, take the advice and apply it to what you're trying to help them with.
well,
And some
that's
people just won't do that.
well, and yeah, I have like so. Look, actually, let's talk about the difference there. There is a difference there. What you're saying, like you mentioned it, like someone that can't afford to take your advice is far more forgivable than someone that just
Yeah.
won't, right? Because it's like you get it. It's like you know what, you only have so much of a budget. Let's work within your budget to figure out the best thing we can for the time being, and then
Yes.
we'll work our way to that point. Or if we can't at this moment in time, there's nothing we can do. Like I've had to like there are people I want to learn from right this minute, and this is again part of why I have to go back to a day job right now. I want to
Yeah.
reinvest in myself a little bit. Right, I'm still going to be freelancing. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like I want to get better, which means
Hmm.
that I'm going to have to learn from some other people and learn some things and give myself some tools that I didn't have before. I
Hmm.
can't afford those tools right now. I'm not ready for those. So I'm not ready for those tools right now.
Hmm.
And and with everybody I've talked to, I have never heard people be so understanding. It's like you're just not ready, and that's totally a forgivable thing because that's today. Tomorrow I might be ready, right? And tomorrow
Hmm.
I might need to go for. I can go forward, and tomorrow I can do different things. And I feel like those clients, you probably would give them another chance down the road. You'd be like, okay, when you're ready, come back to me. Let's do this, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I try to find, different ways to help them. I've made covers on the side before for free, and, done different things
Oh
just
yeah.
because you want those people that are trying, you feel like you want to help them succeed somehow. And if you can, if it doesn't take much of your time and you feel like they would be, that would help them, get to where they're going to be, you have the time to help them and the
Yeah.
skills to help them, go ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's also, I mean, it's also good business too. It's not people remember
Yeah.
to help them. It's people just remember to help them. But I don't feel that's why you do it, but that is a nice little side fringe benefit to it as well.
Yeah, I think that's a part of like all marketing, whether you're marketing a service or you're marketing a book or something, is you need to make those genuine connections with people and let people know that you actually care about them and their success, and they're not just dollar signs to you. Because I think that's something that I've felt that vibe from some service providers and from some authors even, that you just want them, they just want to sell and sell, sell. And it's about more than just, making money. It's about making those connections and, both of you advancing.
Well, it's funny because like authors, a lot of authors dread the word when we say sales. You can just watch authors just cringe and shrivel up, like, oh my god, I don't know what to do here, right?
Yeah.
I think the hilarious part to me is actually they do. It just sounds scary. Because this is how I see. Now maybe you disagree. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. You're the expert. I'm the schlub with the podcast. So we'll see. We'll see if the schlub's right. I've learned this very quickly is that when you're doing sales, it's still storytelling. You're still telling a story because authors, here's the challenge. How can I get Courtney Cannon to read my book? Right? She likes adventures. So maybe I would go to you something like, so you want to read a story about that where a guy steals something that everybody from the zombie mobsters, unicorns, of art rainbows want? Maybe. See, and there you go. I got the reaction. I wanted.
See, like, I would read that.
Yeah. See, done. I'm intrigued. Right, and you can go watch the Cloud Diver, ladies and gentlemen. The link will be at the end of the episode description. But the point is, right? I told a story, a very quick little story, to see if I can get you to commit a moment's time, or at least get you to want to hear more. Nothing fancy, nothing sophisticated. Just like, okay, it's essentially I'm writing flash fiction. I'm writing flash fiction about my fiction, and that's what we're doing. That's one. The other thing I've learned is it's not. I want money. Don't get me wrong. I'd be lying if I told you I didn't want it. But it's not really about this. It's not really about the sale. At least it's not about the sale right now. It's about the relationship. I almost make the equivalent of like, I say like almost equivalent like the first time I tried to talk to a girl. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of nervous about this whole thing. She's really pretty and stuff, and I'm blushing. Just go talk to the girl, right? Just go take a minute, have a conversation with them, establish a relationship. Sometimes it's going to be, yes, I want to hear more about your books. Yes, you're funny and entertaining. No, you're just a schlub with a podcast, whatever, right? But you get that response of what the room is. Because at that point, right, because what you're doing is, honestly, what sales ultimately is, if you sit right down there, it's about filtering and establishing relationships. Am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. And like you said, telling a story and making them, you need to have a hook, something that intrigues them and makes them want to know more about it, and not just buy my book, buy my service, whatever. It's not like when you walk to a car salesman or something and they're like all sleazy, you're not going to want it. But if there's somebody that's going to come over there and show you all the features of this car and make it sound like really cool, you're more likely to buy that car. I mean, if you got the money to do it, So
even if you don't have money, you'll find a way to buy that.
Yeah, car. You're still wanting it. Yeah, it still becomes a want. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's just because that's the way it goes. Like that's sales. It's not hard. It's just like you get intimidated because like, oh my god, there's money involved. But honestly, gush about your book, like in like the best way. It's like, don't go, please buy my book because I need to eat. No, it's like, hey, listen, do you want to read about Alice in Wonderland is Greek mythology. Alice is Pandora because she opens the box and the cat gets inside her and it goes off on a crazy adventure. Like, right? Like that. Yeah. I need to be enthusiastic about it. I wrote it.
Yeah.
If I'm not enthusiastic about it, or if I'm not at least eliciting some kind of emotional response from it, and I'm the one that wrote it, right?
Yeah.
It
doesn't bode well, does it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Do you want to listen to my story about eggshells? And just like no one wants. Like if I do that, it's like people are gonna be like, "What did I just walk into here?" Right? And then like you'll create the opposite effect. So the magnet of attraction, you'll be like, "Way abort." It's like, And then it's like, I don't understand. Why is no one coming here? It's just because my favorite story about this was Phoenix Comic Con. It was beside very talented dude. Like, so first day it was the guys that like were working for the Phoenix Suns. They were promoting a movie. They were great. So the second they took a day off because they had to go work on their day job, and they're like, we got guys doing this comic. He's got this nice comic here. He just sits there, doesn't talk to anybody the whole day. And so me and the booth next door to me was packed all day. They were really enthusiastic. They pushed the product. We watched him. Like, we all looked at him. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I just don't get it, because we looked, the book's okay, but he won't talk to anybody. And I'm like, that's the thing I think authors have to talk themselves out of. Your book, people do want to read your book. They may not know it yet, right? But they will want to read it. They will want to read it if you're willing to say, hi, I'm Josh. I'm very good at making an ass of myself. How are you?
Yeah, see, I think that readers want to know a little bit about authors too. I think that some authors are like, I just want to be really professional, and I just want to lay back, and my books will sell themselves. But if you go out there and put yourself out there and let your readers know a little bit about you and things that you like and things that they can relate to, then they're more likely to remember you, for one, and then maybe pick up your book.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, I think also, like, good, like, a great book is ultimately, I think, the best form of marketing, ultimately. But the second best thing is putting a piece of yourself out there. You have to. There's a line. I mean, don't get me wrong. You don't need to know everything about me. It's probably a good thing you don't know everything about me, right?
Uh-huh.
And vice versa for everybody else too. Like we do need a private life. But I mean, yeah, we live in an interactive age now. We don't live in an age like, okay, here's the thing. You are based. Don't need to tell me the exact address, but what city are you based in right now?
I'm in Bristol, Virginia.
You're in Bristol, Virginia. I'm in Windsor, Ontario.
Yeah.
And we are talking to each other literally right now. I mean, I kind of wondered, like we were joking at the beginning here. I'm like, what's she gonna be up to when this is over? But that's okay. That's another thing I'll put it all together. but the whole point is, right, there's no excuse not to interact with people anymore. Like, we don't live in that age anymore where you can just, unless you're Stephen King or J.K. Rowling, and whatever you might think about her, the truth of the matter is, like, they don't have to interact with anybody. They can do whatever they want. They've literally hit the fuck you money phase of life. They don't really like. They're just going to do what they want to do. Building up, it's like anything else. It's about building our own communities ultimately, right? And that's what authors need to do. And we're not in this age of someone's going to do that for us. We have to do it ourselves.
Especially if you're self-published, you are the face of your company. A lot of authors are like, well, I'm just an author, I just want to sell, and they kind of mouse up, and they don't want to get out there. But when you self-publish, you are everything. You are marketing, you are the author, you go through your professionals to get your editing and stuff done, but you are the face of that book, and you are the person that has to tell people about it, because unless you hire a publicist or something, that's that's your job. You have to treat it like it's a business. Unless you're just, you don't have any financial goals for it, then I guess you can do whatever you want with it. But, it's it's a lot more than I think people realize when they first go, well, I could write a book, because a lot of people say that I could write a book, I could do that. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that I guarantee most people don't think about until they get right there in the depths of it. So.
Well, that's next up for me. Like, that's again for me. It's reinvesting. I gotta get into book club this year. I gotta look at some of the different platforms and see which ones work. Because I think like everybody else, I don't think necessarily the same tricks work for every author either. Right?
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you and taking those leaps of faith. Like, for me, I had this conversation with Joe on Going In Now last week. Like, I look at Facebook and I go, no, just just now. Like I just that
I
I
watched that conversation. It was a good show.
yeah, because I look at the shifting sand motif that is Facebook, and it's like it's not a business model I want to follow. Book club
Hmm.
is a business model that looks like it works. And I'm going to say this wrong. Intelligence looks like a fun place. Not many people go there, right? Um, the fact that I do have somewhat of a platform with my podcast and people can come and I get to interview wonderful people like yourself. And don't worry, we're going to get a little bit more into you before it's all said and done here because we just talked a little marketing, but I also, um, like, I'm curious what pushed you down this path because it wasn't just the writing because you definitely you're a problem solver, like a big time problem solver, and I can tell that. So I'm curious
Yeah.
about that. But what I want to say is like we all like. I think the one thing is when you deal with your clients, right? Do you
Hmm.
like custom tailor that like to them specifically, or is there like a point of we're gonna try some things and we're gonna see what sticks? And how often does it stick? Is it close enough? And this is the other thing. How often does the spaghetti that sticks to the wall closely match the personality of the author? Because I'm very curious about that one.
I kind of a little bit of both. I have an overall like a list of things because you know how I like lists and spreadsheets. I have a list of things that I'm going to do with it and things that might work. But if it's out of the author's comfort zone, because I'm like some authors I have are neurodivergent and you know they don't want to be on a podcast specifically, or they don't want to do anything where they have to speak or do anything live, but they can record it or something. So we adapt to what they are comfortable with. Some people they don't want to give out review copies. They think that's a waste of time, so we don't do the review copies. Or some people, you know, they have all kinds of things already made up, like graphics, and they have like a motion cover, and they've got all this other marketing things going on with it. And some people, I'm the only person that's marketing for them, so it kind of you have to adjust according on what the author's comfortable with, what else they've got kind of going on. And sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't. I've had people tell me that, you know, the stuff that I taught them really helped them with their next launch, or that it's got them to get readers that are more interested in their books, or, you know, something like that. Then some people like, yeah, that was a good launch, and I never hear from them again. So I haven't really, I mean, of course, you know, every once in a while you got someone that are like, well, I don't think that really did much for me because you're not the best fit for everyone. But most of the time, I usually get some positive results, and sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. Usually, I work better with authors that are newer because they're more apt to trust my judgment, and they're more apt to kind of take that to heart and use it in their marketing in the future than people that have been around for longer, because I guess they think that they know everything because they've been around, and some of them might know more than me. I don't, you know, it's just according on which authors are out there. But you know, it's kind of a 50-50 toss up sometimes on whether they're going to go forward with the methods that I teach them, or if they're only going to retain some of it, or if they're just going to forget it completely. It just depends on the authors. And I only work with fantasy and sci-fi, and I get a lot of romance authors that want me to do stuff for them, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I just don't. I'm not qualified to do that. It's not a genre that I really read, and it's not what I've built my platforms around, because all of my social media platforms, I think almost all of them have at least 10 to 11,000 people on them. Some of them have more than that. And I've built that specifically with ads and with builders and stuff, so I reach a certain audience. And some people don't understand that. Like, well, I don't know why you can't help me. And I'm like, well, I don't want to take your money if I don't think that I can give you good results. So I don't even know if I just answered your question. I kind of ramble sometimes, but
Well, you did for the most part. We'll touch back on the part you didn't. I will say
okay.
this: there are a couple romance, like urban fantasy, for example, that kind of
Hmm.
just squeak into both audiences,
I
right?
do urban
Yeah,
fantasy, and
yeah,
I do sometimes do paranormal. I don't really do shifters, so I don't really have an audience for
no,
that.
no,
But
that's
like,
fair.
you know,
That's fair. I
but
mean, because they're as much as much as people want to get left back, like ultimately, whether we want to admit this or not, I did my own little research on this a long time ago.
mhm.
Romance is actually where fantasy and science fiction comes from whether people
Hmm.
really want to admit that or not. It's the old. It's one of the. It's probably the oldest genre in the world.
Yeah.
It honestly deserves a little bit more respect than it has. So that's why I'm bringing it up. But you're right. Like you can only help people. You can only help people. You've carved out a niche. So
Yeah.
the idea that some of what you have probably can apply to everybody, but
Hmm.
that's a presentation or a panel somewhere. Not I'm going to take all your money and give you a result you're not happy with.
Yeah,
Right?
that's exactly. I try to kind of be ethical with it, and also if I know somebody that does romance or does that, like I let my sister actually does romance for our builders and stuff. So I'm like, well, my sister can help you with it, but she doesn't actually do marketing, like on one-on-one. So I'm like, well, maybe they can help you over at this place, or the people over here might have a solution for you. So I try to refer other people, to where that might help them.
No, and honestly, ethics and integrity are the foundation of every business, every good business.
Hmm.
Um, when there's a point where you can get big enough where you can kind of throw that out the window a little bit, but bottom line, ultimately, people are going to remember how you treated them. That's
Yeah.
just the way it is. That's just that. That's and honestly, the fact that maybe you're not helping them now, who knows? Maybe some of them do come up with the ultimate sci-fi romance merger. And you're like, market this, and you'll be like,
I've told them that, like, if you ever do fantasy or sci-fi, then I can help you.
that's
Come
right.
back to me then.
Come back to you then. But I'm gonna now let's get into you a little bit more because I feel like I've scratched the surface. I mean, the office of the car. I love that. I love that's where you ended up doing things. But
Well, my other office is in the laundry room, so I mean, this is probably the best office.
that's I mean, the laundry room would be a good way to repel people. It's like go away. I don't want to hear anything. Right?
You would think that, then my kids are on there, like their dad's like 5 feet away from them. They come all the way in there to the laundry room. Will you open this juice for me?
Oh God. No peace, like tears. Just
Or
leave
like,
me
what are you doing, mommy?
alone.
Can I watch you?
And you're like, no, this is awkward now.
No,
I need to go.
sometimes, like if I'm editing a video or something, and then they're like laughing at me, or like in the video, I'll be like recording, and I'll be like, guys, be quiet, so I can, because like right in the middle of the video, because they're like screaming or something there, and I'm trying to record, and then I'm editing it later, and they'll be like, what? We weren't talking. I was like, I was editing the video. This was like hours ago when I screamed at you, and you didn't even hear me. So
That's fantastic. So your kids really like that's awesome. That's the way it should be. So I'm gonna ask this because there's a couple things you mentioned earlier that I'm curious about.
yeah,
First off is why did you go into sales? Most authors are repelled by sales. Like we talked about that very, very vaguely. You left right
yeah.
into it. It sounds like you left right into it. Like you looked at it like a problem to be solved. So how did that come about?
I would say it probably first started out of necessity because when I was first, when I first started working, the first thing that I started doing freelance was voiceovers because I love doing voiceovers. Voiceovers, I do accents, and stuff like that. I've just always done that since I was a kid. I was like the kid that was in the shower at like 8 years old, reading the back of the VO5 bottle in a British accent or something just to practice. Because I guess I'm kind of like I naturally mimic people. And I've always been really into film and things like that. So I don't know. I guess that's just part of it. And so I started doing voiceovers and just like small commercials and things. I got to do some video game ones that were cool for just like indie video games. I got to be the voice of Storm one time, which was really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was like, yay! And I've done GPS and different little things. And so that got very marketable for me. I was on Fiverr because I didn't know really how to start out in that industry. It was just something that I needed to do because I was working. I had a kid now. Is when my first kid was born. I was working at a daycare, and despite like it was a preschool, but despite it being a really tough job, and you're watching like 8 kids all day, and chasing them around, they don't pay much. They pay minimum wage. We had a house to pay for and everything, so I just started doing that on the side at night while he was asleep, and so we could make rent and stuff. And eventually I got into writing articles because I was always liked writing. after, when I was little, I would write some of the things. I got into fan fiction when I was a teenager. So I was always writing fan fiction for like Buffy and Harry Potter. And I wrote Gargoyles fan fiction way back when and on a typewriter. And I just, thought that would work for me. I was always really good. I took AP English. I was always really good at English. Sucked at math, but I was always really good at English in school. And so I just started writing articles. And so at that point, I guess I was kind of a journalist. I was writing for blogs. They would pay me so much to write so many articles for them about whatever topics, and some of them were so dull, like stuff about Kanban boards or stuff about, one time I had to write about pests, and I had to write about like how to get possums out of your attic or something. I just had to research and write it all down. So I started doing that. And it started making me money. And eventually I was just like, you know what? I could probably do some stuff with graphic design, because I had websites where I was so into fandom. I was, doing graphic design there, doing like manipulations and making GIFs. And I had one of the largest Harry Potter websites on the net back in the day. And so I used kind of those skills to start making graphics for people on Fiverr. And eventually my friend Janae, who I knew through the Harry Potter fandom, she decided that she was going to become a self-published author. And so she wrote a book and she needed a cover for it. And she's like, do you think that you could make me a cover? Because I got this one cover from Fiverr and it just doesn't really work for me. And so I'm just, yeah, I'll try. I helped her do that. And she really liked it. We used it and we kind of learned together how to get the sizing right for a paperback and everything, because I didn't really understand it at first. I've never really done anything on the computer like that, but I got it, to work. And eventually I was like, well, I can turn this into a business. So I started advertising it on Facebook that I can make covers and graphics for people. And then she's like, a few months down the line, she was like, well, now I need an editor and you're really good with editing. Can you help me kind of proofread this? And so me and a couple of her friends proofread it. And eventually I got into editing. So I started doing editing and copywriting and editing and doing covers. And then eventually I am one of those people that tries to learn a new skill every year. That's kind of like my New Year's resolution. So I try to, learn new things. I just got into video making because I used to be a fan video editor, back in the day for Harry Potter and Buffy and things. I used to make all those fan videos that when YouTube first started, because I'm really old, when I remember when YouTube first started, I put my videos on there and, people really liked them then. So I was like, well, I can make book trailers. So I started doing book trailers, and then I'd been using websites for a long time. So I started doing WordPress website design because that's what I was used to doing. And then I got into, learning HTML and learning some CSS and things that you do with, with WordPress. And so eventually it just turned into this huge plethora of things that I could do. And then when I had my second son, by then I was working in a factory and it really sucked. But I have scoliosis, which is, when your spine is curved like an S. I've got pretty severe scoliosis. And so when they tried to give me epidural, they had to try 7 times and it didn't work. And they actually messed up the nerves in my back. And so after that, I couldn't go back to work because I couldn't stand or sit for long periods of time. And I eventually had to go to UVA, and they looked at me and they said, you've got some sciatica and some nerve damage in your back. And then they also found out that I had, I can't ever say it right. I'm just going to attempt it. It's called ankylosing spondylitis. It's basically an arthritis of your spine, and it fuses your spine together sometimes, and it can fuse other joints together and stuff like that. And so after a while, I just, I just couldn't go back to work. And at that point, my husband was the only one working. We had 2 kids and I had to make money. So, I just kind of amped up all the stuff that I was doing. I started a review service for books, and we got really down on our luck for a while. And our house was actually going to be auctioned off. And I ended up finding another business thing to open, and I raised all the money that we needed and got our house back. And so from then I just kind of kept hustling and hustling until I've gotten to where I am today. I've built trust within the community and done, a lot of different business things, learned different things that I could do so I could, help us stay afloat until we got stable. And also, I've always, all through the years, I've been doing fundraisers. So I've always been really good at finding unique ways to make money and unique ways to raise money for different like charities and foundations and stuff. Because when I first started my Harry Potter website, we did a little charity event for St. Jude's every year. And so like when the hurricane hit Puerto Rico, we raised like $3,000 with an auction that I did for like the community. I got all the authors to donate different things, and we auctioned them off in this huge event. And we've done childhood cancer charity stuff. We've done we did a jail bail one time that was really fun. We had all the authors sign up, and I photoshopped them all into like little there's bars and little striped suits and stuff on them, and we had people donate to bail them out, and whoever got the most bail money like won the auction. But we just donated all the money to I think that one was for autism awareness, and we split it up between that and for preemie care. And so I don't know, I just like organizing things and funding things. My friend Mirren that I worked with in Rogue Skies, she lost her house in the Australia fires, and we ended up doing a fundraiser for her at another auction, and we got her, I think, somewhere around $11,000 to help, get back with stuff. So I don't know, I've just always been someone who likes to organize, and I've always kind of out of necessity learned how to do things and kind of pull myself out of, if I get stuck in the gutter, kind of pull myself back up somehow. So I guess that's how I got into everything.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack. Let's
Yeah.
I think though I figured something out about you. So and this is so for you. You enjoy the creativity of coming up with ways of presenting things.
Yes.
That's something I picked up on you. Like for you, you see it like, you know what? I did this handyman possum crap. How can I make this presentable? How the hell? What kind of story can I write about this?
Yeah.
Let's pull it from the point of view of the evil possum. I will stay here forever, and you can't stop me. Like, oh, right? And then you just do like the Three Little Pigs style format. Like the first thing doesn't work at all. The second thing is maybe a little more resistance, but not good enough. And then the third thing is the brick house that just like kicks ass. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly how I did it.
Yeah, right. Something like that, right? I'm just throwing stuff on the top of my head. Like, how would I tell this story? It's like Three Little Pigs. I'm gonna steal from the Three Little Pigs, and I'm gonna make the possum the big bad wolf because that's the only way that's even remotely fun, right? But that's me. I bore easily. But I get it. Like for you, it sounds like you've always enjoyed storytelling, and it's just always been a part of your life anyway in some form or fashion. You've helped others, and everything you've kind of been doing has trained you to get to this like point, right? And
Yeah.
if anything, you're a lesson in perseverance. I think a lot of people. I think a lot of people can look at you as an end result. It's figuring out. You trained yourself. You learned how to roll with things, but you've also used the skills you've acquired along the way. And you're just like, how can I make this marketable and profitable for myself? And how can I use? And like you figured out that at a very younger than I did. So you're smart. Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good to see you on that. But now we're gonna go to a big one because you did all the behind the scenes stuff, and so you said it. So you've been doing short stories and you've been doing anthologies, and you're cool with all that. But I still get the feeling you want to do bigger stuff. Like, and am I wrong on that? Am I wrong on that? No. So, what? So has this all been just a process of it's coming in its own time? Have you just been like, how to put this? With all the other training, like all the other life things, it's just been like I need to take care of other things first, or is this like truly like a venture into the uncomfort zone that for you? Like, is it a little of all three?
Kind of all three. I've always wanted to be like when I was in high school and earlier than that, really. But when I was in high school, I actually had a information technology class, and we had to write a resume in there. And one of the on the resume, I found it like years and years later. One of the things that I had done in the like future me had done was opened a publishing company. And then it was almost in exactly the same year that I opened Fiction Atlas, which was kind of crazy because I had forgotten all about this thing. And so it's something I've always wanted to do. And
the resume, I found it like Sorry about that. I'm just looking at Katie gets in the comment that you're the best. So okay, continue.
I love
Well, I'll
Katie.
get to that. Yeah, it's my fault.
That's fine. But it's something I've always wanted to do. And then also, I've had done kind of this necessity of having to, get us to a good financial place. I've always been having to just kind of work and work and work and work. And so sometimes it leaves very little time for me to do bigger projects. But it's something that I am working towards. And I am really, as good as I am at like doing spreadsheets and planning things, I cannot for the life of me plot a book. I am a pantser all the way. I get like flashes of things and I write them down. I get dialogue, I write it down. There's all these, it's not organized at all. It's just a bunch of notes. It's completely different from my more professional life with like the Fiction Atlas and all the other things. I just have notes everywhere, ideas. I have random recordings of me on my phone, like in the line for McDonald's talking about, something in like a Scottish accent or something for like some character that I've got. People are looking at me in the McDonald's like, what is she doing? I was like, hold on, it's a story idea. Just wait. And so I've got all of this chaos here and I'm trying to put it together. And sometimes I can do it really good. And sometimes it's really hard for me to put together into a story. And I also have really bad issues with imposter syndrome because like I'll write it and I'm an editor also because so I've got like a horrible habit of going back and editing what I've just written, and so I'm trying to break that habit. And I know that I can do it. It's just me making time for myself and taking time, and I've actually scheduled out some time for me to actually write more, because that was my thing before. I was like, well, I don't have time to do this, or I don't have time to do that. And then I was like, that's kind of just an excuse for me. I have to make time to actually dedicate to this so I can accomplish something. So hopefully this is my year. This is going to be my year. I'm not even going to say hopefully. I'm going to say this is going to be my year. And I'm going to get, some full novels out. And I think once I do that, and once I kind of start getting some more reviews in, because when you're in an anthology, people leave reviews for the whole anthology a lot. Sometimes you'll get reviews for your own, but I haven't really had a experience where I've had someone just review my whole story. And it's kind of scary to, because when I was doing fan fiction, yeah, I got some good reviews then, but that's fan fiction. This is like the real deal. And I feel like, am I going to be good enough? Is this, and I feel, is this going to, are they going to see this and think, well, what is she doing? How can she be an expert in this for other people and suck so bad? So it's hard for me to put it out there, but I'm going to do it this year.
So I got something. I want to show you something here. So I promised my sister at the very start of the year that I would, start of the pandemic, I would do drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing them online as part of the show. So there's my one of my Lego Paladin things I built there. Right?
That's good.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So now, Ninja Turtle stuff. Right? You see it?
Yeah.
Now, I've eventually gotten to inks. Yeah, I'll show that in a second here. I'm going down the line. Right? Evil porn stash Johnny Cage, right? If anyone can have a porn stash Johnny Cage, right? Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time, right?
Awesome.
Right? And here, let me show you that. You know who that is. I don't need to tell you who that is.
Link.
Yeah, they don't need to tell me who that is. And wait, we're going to go a little farther here. I'm going to show you a couple more. Now, and I'll tell you, now, yes, I'm showing off. That's part of why I'm showing off. Obnoxious boots. Can you see that these are like the most obnoxious boots ever? Like, seriously, they're like weapons of mass destruction right there, right? Right, and then is that? I wonder. I
Oh
wonder.
my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So now, here's the thing. And I bring all this up, although, yes, I'm showing up. I'm flexing my awesomeness because this was my new skill this year, learning how to illustrate. So I just wrote the draft for my next book, which is called Lights Out. It's my homage to Fahrenheit 451. Character's name is Guy Montag. Much like you know that name, you know why I say this is very much a homage to Fahrenheit 451. I'm writing it. It's in betas right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I started illustrating it this week. I'm scared to death. Now, here's the thing, though. Now, if you watch what I've been doing, they're okay. I'm getting better for sure, but they're only okay. I'm still going this. I'm gonna give you a piece of advice about your novel writing and maybe deal with the imposter syndrome. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the advice I'm gonna give you. Play. You're plotting for me. There's a two-part process to you, what you tell me. First off, I want to be at the McDonald's where you order a quarter pounder with cheese and that Scottish accent. That would be amazing. That would be incredible. I would love. I would pay to see that. Number one. Number two, though, you're not quite sure how to do a novel yet. Like you can tell a story, but you're not quite sure you know how to tell a novel yet. And because I think the reason why you're so more disorganized in this category than you would say any other project you've done, one, the scope is bigger. So it's like breaking it, like you are very good at breaking down things into little pieces. But this might be one of the biggest things you've ever tackled. And because of that, you're not quite sure how to divide the pieces up into the right chunks to digest. Does that make sense? It's like you have a giant cake you're going to devour at some point, and you don't want to ruin the cake and you're devouring. So you want to cut into enough pieces where you can enjoy the cake and not like get like I got indigestion or like maybe it's a cake that you like but you really not like a cheesecake, right? I don't know. Like I'm using those metaphors though for this reason. That's part of what's going on with. That's part of what's going on with you. It's not that you're a little unsure, and I think that's a big reason why you are so disorganized is because of that. You're hesitating where normally I think you go forward. You're the kind of person from what I gather that has this tendency to you have a plan. You're pretty confident in your plan. And once you're in it, even though I'm sure God has laughed at your plans multiple times, right? It doesn't matter. Yeah. You've committed. You know what you're doing, and you seem like someone that's really good with rolling with the punches. So I don't really feel like that's your issue.
Yeah.
So I decided to draw, and I decided not to worry about being good. And that's my advice. Actually, here's my advice to you, editor. You don't get to have a conversation yet. You're not allowed. No. This is what you're gonna have to do with yourself. Editor Courtney is on vacation on this book. You write anything you want in the. So here's the rule. So I have this draft I'm doing for traditional publishing. I did this differently than every other draft I did. I did not worry about a damn thing I wrote in it. I had a beginning. I had an ending. I didn't worry about a damn thing in it. Now, not all of that's usable. I know that. I don't care. That's not the point. You're trying to figure in. It's when you do any kind of structure, clay, marble, any kind of art. It's figuring out the story you want to tell and how you want to tell it, and everything else can get cut. But in the process of constructing a story, any story at all, right? We need to allow ourselves that ability just to have fun. This is your first time doing a novel. It doesn't have to be good, nor maybe should it. But will it be fun? Because if you can make it fun, you'll learn how to do it. Because I think for you, once you learn how to do it the first time, you will become editor, plotter, Courtney will come back to the surface and go, okay, I know what I'm doing now. Let's get to work. It'll be very, because I feel like that's the thing I'm getting. That's the vibe I get off you when it comes to a novel. One, you want this very badly because you believe in yourself and you're good. That you want this to be the best you can, and it's scary because someone might think it sucks. That's okay.
Yeah.
You know what? They can think it sucks. I know. You know. The world knows. It's hard to create a beautiful thing and put it out there for the world to see. And you will create a beautiful thing that will be out there that the world will see. I have no doubt about that. Number one. Number two. But you cannot, for the first time, and treat this like this. This is the first time I rode a bike. You're gonna fall on your ass. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna go on the ice to learn how to skate. You're gonna fall on your ass. Who cares? First time you go in the water, you're gonna go plop right to the bottom. Hey, what am I doing going down there? Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you just do the work. And for you, I think for to do this work the best way the first time, get fun. Don't worry about anything else. The first draft will be complete and total dog shit. And don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be. That's not what the first draft's about. The first draft is figuring out how to take this big cake and break it down into pieces for you. So that going forward, you know what you're doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes actually a lot of sense. And then after the first draft, that's when editor Courtney can just go in and rip it to pieces.
That's right. Rip it to pieces at that point. First draft, editor Courtney is not allowed to come play in the first draft.
Yeah.
But can play on every draft thereafter. And if editor Courtney has a problem with that, writer Courtney says, you're going to get in my way. I need to get this done so you can do your work. And then editor Courtney is going to be like, oh, yay. And then just she'll go off and like play marbles or something.
Hopefully she'll be like, I haven't had a vacation forever, so good.
Or put her to work on other projects that do require service. Like you're not going to stop working, right?
No.
But so all of which to say is it sounds to me like that's your thing. So have fun. And that's for imposter syndrome. So one of my books got recognized for something last year.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this year. I mean, for one of the books I released last year, it's got a really cool thing coming up about it. I can't really say yet what it is, but it's cool. And it's always nice to be recognized for your work. That all said, the first time I got my podcast nominated for an award, I had my first bout with my imposter. And the solution to imposter syndrome for me is, I think you got this in you. So I think this is more a reaffirmation of something you already have. It's this. How did you get here? What did you do so well that got you to where you are that people notice? And then be very wise in the fact that do that thing.
Yeah.
And look at what could possibly get in the way. For you, your uncertainty creates doubt. And that is where you are vulnerable. The solution for you is to make it fun. Because if you make it fun and you don't have to worry about being good, you won't mess up because there's no messing up.
Because it's just for me at first.
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of.
Yeah, exactly. You need to learn. You're not afraid to learn anything. We've had this conversation. You're not afraid to learn shit, and that's great. That's going to carry you super, super, super far. But because you want this so bad, you had the same reason why I didn't draw for so long. I was afraid it wasn't going to be good. And then I had this wonderful thought one day: who cares? And you need to have that wonderful thought when you start. Now, when we can get to good, we can get there. You're a professional. I saw a quote the other day from one of my favorite writers in terms of just her voice, and it's MJ and Colette. An amateur seeks perfection. A professional knows it just needs to be done.
Yeah.
And that's really good, and that's my advice for you. Just get her done, have fun, do it for you. Don't worry about anyone else. Just do it for you, because when you do it, you'll know how to do it, and then you'll know how to do it. you might be like the most prolific of us all when it's all said and done, because it's like, yeah, I know, like, and I hope this is encouraging, because we beat ourselves most of the time. I've been very good at learning what people do well and what they don't do well in their own heads. And for you, that I feel is it. The unknown, like for everybody, terrifies you. It's a natural thing to be a little scared, but you can do it. And so just don't lower your own expectations for the outside, and have fun and do it for you. Okay, I'm done. I'm done my preaching.
But I'm going to follow that advice.
Yes. And then you're going to come back and you're like, I wrote 6 books this year. And I'll be like, you feel so inadequate. Like, but I want you to succeed. And it sounds like you have a really good head on your shoulders. You really, really do. And Katie says you're the best. And I'm sure if she's still watching and listening to this, she's still watching and listening to this conversation. No, we barely scratched the surface. I get the feeling you're out of time, so we're gonna probably have to. I get that feeling that your kids might have destroyed the house and gone over an hour and they've gone antsy. Okay.
There's no smoke yet, so that's good.
Yeah, that's a good thing. But there's you haven't heard any big loud noises or anything like that, right? So
no.
But all of which to say, good luck with everything. I'm very curious. I'm very curious when your novel is ready. Please come back. Let me know if my advice was actually worth anything to you, or if you figured out a brand new way of doing it. And that's cool, because I'm a schlub with a podcast. I don't know anything. So I'm just here talking to amazing people, including you. So, you think we got an interview here, Miss Courtney?
Do what?
Do you think we got an interview here? Do you think?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. So you gotta plug something. I think. I mean, we've done this, so you gotta plug. So.
Well, if there's any writers watching, they can go to fictionatlas.com or go to fictionatlas.net, because I own both of those domains, and we do all kinds of marketing for fantasy and sci-fi, and then my sister does romance. And if you want to help out a charity right now, we have our latest charity anthology is called Bloodsport, and it's a vampire anthology that was really fun, and it's on sale for 99 cents. So that might be something that they could that you can go look for. You go to books to read /Bloodsport, and you can find it on all platforms, because it's a wide book. And all the proceeds go to the International Red Cross. So
very, very, very cool. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, please stay just for a few minutes after the show. I need to ask you some wonderful bonus stuff here. But for everybody else, this has been just joshing, and I want to thank Courtney for putting up with me for over an hour. and I really enjoyed this conversation. Tomorrow, I have too. I do some more drinking drawing with Mackenzie Carr. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. When these views are crazy, I think. We'll see. But tomorrow's Kenzie Carr. So guys, take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys tomorrow.